Hi. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Dom. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I typically make bookish content, movie content, and anything else in between because I like to do whatever I want on this channel, and tonight is going to be bookish content. For today's video, we're going to go over the books that I read these past few months. I haven't been doing monthly wrap-ups because I was only finishing like one book a month. So I decided I would do like a recent reads video. I really only have 4 books to talk about. I'll mention 2 more, it's just I have not finished those books yet. But you know what? We're just gonna jump right into it. When was the last time I did a monthly wrap-up? When did I finish this first book? Hold up. The first book I'm gonna talk about, I finished in April, so that's how long it's been. Let's just jump right into it. That's kind of embarrassing. So the first book that I finished was They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This takes place in a world where everyone has an app called Deathcast. It lets you know the day you are dying that you are going to die. And 2 boys, Mateo and Rufus, both get the notification that they are going to die today. So they both join the best friend app, which is called Last Friend. They become friends and decide to spend their last day together. Again, I finished this in April, so my memory of this book is a little hazy, but I did really enjoy it. I did end up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. It's a cute little, I mean, given the premise of the book, it is a cute little YA contemporary kind of sort of romance. I would slip that word in there. Going into this book, you do need to know that this book is not about the end. It is very much about the journey. I mean, the title gives it away. We all know how the story's gonna end. So I actually had fun following the journey. I really enjoyed seeing these 2 characters have a blossoming friendship, and I liked how in less than 24 hours you could feel how close their friendship was until it develops into like the romance aspect, of course, that I mentioned earlier. I think one of the reasons I like this book too is that it talks about like regrets and then the small things. Like, for example, one of our characters, Mateo, he talks about how he didn't really do much with his life. He doesn't have a lot of friends. He stayed indoors playing video games all the times, and there were just so many things he wished he could do, which was travel, just talk more, be more open, be more adventurous. And our character Rufus had his regrets as well, and it was nice seeing the 2 characters play off of that. Like, Rufus helped Mateo overcome his fears and vice versa. And one thing I did notice about this book, because Mateo and Rufus went through a lot in their last day. They did some huge things, and there were just some minor things that they did. Like, for example, they went to this one like simulation thing where it simulates like skydiving, simulates horseback riding, swimming with whales. But then there was like another instance where Mateo just wanted to buy cute postcards. And they make comments about how they like doing that like smaller activity better than they like doing the bigger activity, because they made a few comments about how lame that bigger activity was, which to me it hones in on the fact that sometimes it is the small things that make your life impactful. To me, what was like exciting, so to speak, was figuring out when and how these characters were gonna die, because you knew that was coming. So every time they were in peril, I panicked a bit. And the author also introduces other like minor characters, and it was interesting seeing how their stories were going to weave together as well. And I also did like how Adam Silvera ended it. I liked how he worded the sentence. I don't want to spoil too much, so that's why I don't really want to say what exactly happened, but I just thought the wording of it was perfect. Some things I wish this book did was kind of explore those smaller characters more, because like I said, Adam Silvera would introduce these smaller characters, show them intertwining with Rufus and Mateo, but then like they wouldn't really say anything after that. Like, there's one, I don't remember her name, but there are these 2 girls they see on the train. One is on her end day, the other's just a friend she made through Last Friend. And you find out that the friend was the graffiti artist that Rufus saw earlier. But I kind of want to know what happened to the girl who had her end day. Like, when did she die? My one question when it comes to this concept, and I know, you know, it's just a YA contemporary, I'm not supposed to be thinking this deep into it. However, with Deathcast, with the Last Friend app, with all the shit that you're able to do, part of this makes me wonder if Deathcast would cause more deaths. It's hard to describe what I mean by that, but I guess like I'm just gonna use an example from the book. So for example, Rufus's whole family is dead. His parents and sister died in a car accident. Their car fell over a cliff into the water. Rufus was the only one who survived. Rufus talks about how his 3 family members received the notification that they were going to die that day, so as a last hurrah, his sister wanted to go to the cabin. It was when they were on their way to that cabin that they were driving on the slippery hill, fell into the water. And it's like, well, if they did not get that notification, they wouldn't have been driving that day. They wouldn't have been driving in that rainy, dangerous terrain. So like, if they never received that notification, would they have survived or would they just have died a different way? Our two main characters, I'm not going to say who this happens to, we're just going to talk about, like, we'll just say friend A and friend B. Friend B went to friend A's house. As a nice gesture, friend A left the room to go make something, and that something essentially kills him. But it's like, if he was never friends, if he never met friend B, he never would have been doing that. So it begs the question, would he just had survived, or would he had died a different way? And he only met friend B because he got the notification that he was dying. So if he never got that notification, he wouldn't have met friend B. In turn, he would not have been doing the thing that killed him. So that's my question. I know I'm thinking like way too deep into it, but it is a scary thought of this app. Like, I really don't think an app like this is gonna come to life, because the book doesn't even explain how it knows when people are dying. Like, and I understand it's a YA contemporary. I was fine with it not going into fine detail like that, but it like begs the question, like, what if this is invented for real life? Mateo talks about how there's blogs of people on their end day who just blog all day until they die. There's that Last Friend app. There's all these things to do when people are dying. And it's like, in theory, that seems nice, like having these simulations for people's last day and stuff, but it's like, that seems like a very depressing world to me. Like, I don't want an app that would tell me when I'm gonna die, only because, like, I just have a fear of death, and I just feel like if there is an app that would tell us when we were gonna die, I would just live in fear of my phone ringing. I would have a heart attack every time my phone rang, even if it wasn't that notification for that specific app. And you know what? There is actually a character that the book ends on, and they don't say what happened to her. Like, he made such a big deal about this character, and she makes it as long as our main characters do. But she herself, we never find out what happened to her, and I wish we did. She was in more life and death situations throughout her day than our main characters were, and yet she survived all of them. So yeah, those were my final thoughts, and they both die at the end. So, good book. I got it from the library. I'm not rushing to get my own copy by any means, but 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Death Note Black Edition Volume 3, story by Sugumi Oba, art by Takashi Obata. In the Black Editions, there are 2 volumes of the original manga, so this is volumes 5 and 6. I can't say what this is about because that is a spoiler for the whole series. However, the series of Death Note itself is about a teenage boy who is bored. He's walking outside, comes across a notebook that's labeled Death Note. He finds out that Shinigami, the gods of death, are real, and also finds out if you write someone's name in the Death Note, they die of a heart attack within 60 seconds. So now that he's found the Death Note, he decides he's going to take matters in his own hands, create a utopia of no criminals. He essentially decides that he is playing God. I ended up giving this volume 3 out of 5 stars. This was kind of a slog for me. This kind of put me into reading something, that's why it took me so long to finish it. So this whole book takes place during the arc of when, like, doesn't remember anything. He's now some innocent young man. I've seen the anime twice, and that was my least favorite part of the anime. So I knew getting to that in the manga was going to be a drag. I didn't think it was going to be this much of a drag. So I only gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and it made me want to put the series down for a while, which I did, and I had to read something else, unfortunately. So spoiler alert, I still have not read volumes 4, 5, and 6. However, I did start a new manga. This is another book I got from the library. This manga is called Orange by Ichigo Takano. This is about a girl named Naho who lives in like the small rural areas of Japan. One day there is a new kid in her class named Kakeru, and that same morning there's a letter from her future self telling the present day Naho to take care of Kakeru because an unfortunate future awaits him. This is volume 1. I believe this whole book is volumes 1 through 3 of the whole story. I saw people on BookTube raving about this. At first I wasn't going to pick it up because it is like a YA romance essentially. I'm not huge on romance, especially YA, just because I'm not of that target audience anymore. But then once I saw that some like sci-fi elements were being brought into it, I was like, okay, I kind of got to read that now. And I'm so glad I picked this up because this is like a 5 out of 5 star read for me. I don't really know what I was expecting when picking up this book, but I was definitely not expecting everything I read. I felt a wide range of emotions reading this. I felt happy. There are parts where I literally laugh out loud. I've been angry at characters. There were scenes where I had like literal tears streaming down my face. The artwork is spectacular. And it also reminds me of my high school days. So just like what we were talking about, what they both die at the end, this book also explores the concept of regrets and living a life you don't regret. Future Naho is constantly talking about the things she regrets doing or not doing, and it's always the little things, which shows that sometimes, you know, not participating in the baseball game can't throw your future wayward. I mean, there are things we all regret not doing, and like there's some big things we regret not doing, but for me personally, it's always the little things that hurt the most. Like, this book made me look back on high school, and although I didn't necessarily hate my high school experience, you can't pay me to redo it. However, there are like some small things I wish I had done. Like I was not very active in high school. I was very quiet. I didn't participate in a lot of student organizations. There were things I tried out for and I just unfortunately didn't get into them. But I didn't really participate in anything else. I was that kid that would kind of just go straight home after school. My freshman and sophomore year, not so much, but by junior year when I was getting super burnt out, I would just go home and like I would be by myself, and I wasn't really a yes man in high school. My friends would constantly ask me to go out, and I did say no more often than not, simply because I wanted to be in the comfort of my own home. You know, and like looking back at it, I wish I did participate in more clubs. I wish I didn't get discouraged by the fact that, like, you know, I didn't make it to the dance team, I didn't make it to this audition, whatever. I wish I did say yes to my friends more often. And that's what this book is making me feel, which I do consider a good thing, so I think the author is doing something right in that regard. And I love characters who grow. I can see Naho's growth. She is a very shy girl. She is also a people pleaser. I like seeing her find her self-worth. So she's saying yes to the things she genuinely wants to do, and she's learning to say no to the things that make her uncomfortable. And I like seeing that. And I like seeing male characters like be at one with their emotions. I've noticed in the anime community a lot of people don't like their male characters crying. I don't mind my male characters crying, which you see a lot in here. Like I don't want to say they're like crybabies, but like Kakeru, he holds in his emotions, but once someone finally reaches him, he does cry it out, and I love seeing that. I love seeing all the characters are growing. They're growing into better people, and that's what I like seeing. And I do also like that Naho has great friends. I was expecting some unnecessary tension, but you don't get that. Her friends are always by her side. Even this guy, Suwa, which I don't really want to spoil anything, so I don't want to say why that's a big deal, but even he is willing to help and always by her side. And this book also does mention things like depression and suicide, and I think it handles it very well. No one laughs at each other about these issues. They are very, very willing to help, which I think is a good representation of those issues. So yeah, good series. I'm very glad I did end up picking this up. And finally, the last book I completed in the last, how long has it been? April, May, June, July, August. In the last 4 months was Where Angels Fear to Tread by E.M. Forster. This is about a woman whose husband just died. She goes to Italy to explore, meets a guy there, marries him. Her in-laws from hell are not happy about it. This is my first E.M. Forster read. I know this book is a classic, and honestly, I just thought it was okay. Every character really is unlikable, which isn't one of my gripes with the book. I don't mind unlikable characters as long as you do them well. And some of them were done well. Like, despite being unlikable, I really did like Phil. His sister Harriet was annoying, but like, she was written well enough for you to know she was supposed to be annoying and unlikable, if that makes sense. Poor Lilia, she has the in-laws from hell, always trying to dictate her life. But then the guy she married wasn't much better, so I don't really know what my main... I ended up getting this book only like 2 out of 5, you know, 3 out of 5 stars. And I can't really tell you what my gripe with this book was, other than that at times I did find it to be a snooze fest. I don't hate the fact the characters were unlikable. If anything, they were the most dramatic and fun part about the book. I did love the section where the author goes on and on about Italy. I feel like that was, you know, essentially his love letter to that country, and I've been to Italy, so I agree with him. It is a magnificent country. The theme of this book is basically like the distinction of salvation, personal salvation, and like good and evil, which is very obvious throughout, because it's not like explicitly said, but like everyone's like inner turmoil is if I'm a better person or not. Like the English characters think they're better than Gino, our Italian character. However, Gino and his friends and his family think they're better than our English characters. And obviously, like, Lilia meeting him is like the turning point, because now these two cultures have to clash. I did have to look up what the title meant, Where Angels Fear to Tread, because I had only ever heard of this phrase within the context of this book. And it's basically, from what Google says, if you say that someone rushes in where angels fear to tread, you are criticizing them gently because they get themselves into dangerous or difficult situations without thinking carefully enough about what they are doing. And honestly, this title is very fitting, because the whole thing, what gets the plot going, is Lilia rushing into this marriage of a guy like 10 years her junior, barely knows him. I think they had only known each other for a month. She's rushing into this. So her in-laws are I don't want to say understandably upset, but they're understandably taken aback. And, you know, Lilia's trying to prove a point just for shit to unravel, and it's definitely not what she thought it was going to be. And I would say the same for Gino, too. He married this rich woman, hoping to have this extravagant life, ended up not getting the life he wanted. The in-laws, when they go to Italy trying to steal whatever they were stealing from Lilia, try not to spoil, you definitely see by the end of this book that did not go to plan. So I guess you could say the moral of this story is be careful. Think before you act. However, again, there was just something about this book I wasn't a fan of. I think it just wasn't my style. I was kind of bored. I don't want to call it a slog. That's pushing it. I wasn't that bored, but I was bored enough for this to be 2.5 stars out of 5. And now for books that I started but haven't finished. Of course, I'm still reading Arabian Nights, but I think in the past 4 months I literally read 1 story. I have not been picking it up at all. But I did start Orange Volume 2. I am only about 4 chapters into this. And then I also learned that a huge chunk of the end of this book has nothing to do with Orange. All of this is a completely different story. So I'm closer to the end than I thought. I just didn't have time to finish it in August. But I am enjoying it so far. Teared up a bit, which is a little embarrassing because I read it on the bus. So I'm sitting there crying on public transport in Chicago, but whatever, y'all seen worse. And that is the end of this video. I'm very rusty at this. I don't know if you guys ever... I got a little frustrated talking about some of these books because I couldn't get the words out. I'm a reader and yet can't get words out when I want to talk about what I've read. But yeah, my reading goal for the year is 30 books and I'm 7 books behind that, so hopefully I can catch up. Probably going to read some graphic novels or short stories here and there. Let me know down below what y'all been reading. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Comment, subscribe. Y'all know the drill. Without further ado, I'm going to peace out and I'll see you guys later. Ciao, tutti.